Hi again, everybody. It's Laurie White, president of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce. How y'all doing today? Welcome to episode number 107 of Chamber TV. And today we're talking about all the great things that are happening at the United Way of Rhode Island, one of our favorite nonprofit philanthropic organizations. And with us today, we have the president and CEO of the United Way of Rhode Island, Cortney Nicolato, our good friend. Hi, Cortney. How you doing?
Laurie, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I'm thrilled to be here and hanging out with one of our favorite chambers.
Fantastic. You guys have been so busy in recent months. I know you've got your strategic plan that you have just finished. Mm-hmm. You received an amazing $100 million donation from philanthropist MacKenzie Scott, which I know everybody's interested in, mm-hmm. and learn more about that. And certainly, the work that you've been doing to respond to the pandemic, on top of everything else that is in the portfolio of the United Way of Rhode Island. So let's talk a little bit about that. And just to get started, how are you doing, Cortney? How's your family? How are you making out during these difficult times?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that question. And I think all of us should take a moment to ask each other how they're doing. So I appreciate that you did. And, we're good. We're blessed and very grateful for our health and well-being in our family and with our team, what we call Team United at the United Way. The kids are in school, which we're grateful for, and enjoying it, and they're safe. And I'm so grateful for all the teachers and our public school systems who have been just incredible through this. And so yeah, grateful and joyful is the words that come to mind for me at this moment. But busy, no doubt. It has been a whirlwind of a year. We got a phone call. I received a phone call from Dr. Nicole Scott on February 29th. It was a Saturday night. I was heading to a gala, and she said, we're activating United Way in 211 tomorrow morning. And we have our first case, and here we go, kind of deal. And it has been nothing but a sprint, one that we're really proud of, but a sprint ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So give us a little bit of a sense of the kind of call volume that you've received. You talked about starting in February. So that was, a lot earlier than most of us were aware that this was going to happen. For instance, we started our work from home mentality on March 19th. So that was several weeks after you guys first mobilized. So give us a sense of, the degree to which you guys have really had a crush of need.
Yeah, it's been just incredible need and just stressful too at the same time. And, so we saw in the first, I would say 3 months, we saw about triple the number of call volume to 211 that we normally got. And we will be announcing in a few weeks our call volume. And I will tell you for 2020, and I will tell you it's significantly increased in comparison to years past. We were taking the most calls per capita in the country already with 211. And so now that has, exponentially grown. And, I think also it in the need and the calls and the anxieties of the callers has been even more and more evident through this process. And so I'm grateful that 211 can be a huge support mechanism for Rhode Islanders and has been throughout this pandemic. And that is also allowed us the ability to really understand what the greatest needs of Rhode Islanders are through the data that we acquire and information that we acquire through 211. And on average, for every caller that calls us, housing continues to be at the very top of that list and has been through the pandemic. But we also know that there are usually 3 different other issues that a Rhode Islander is facing when they're either at the point of crisis or at risk of crisis. And so we kind of compile all that information, and that helped to really determine in partnership with the Rhode Island Foundation, how we were going to get the dollars out through the COVID-19 response fund. We were very grateful to have, with the community, have raised well over $8 million as part of that endeavor. And what I'm even more proud of is the two organizations came together and we got those funds out into the community within 6 to 8 weeks, which in the philanthropy world, especially in a partnership model, is unheard of. And that was just because we were laser focused, our two organizations, on getting those dollars out. Additionally, since then, we have partnered with the state to get critical housing and rental assistance dollars out, provided direct support for those facing eviction to have legal resources that they wouldn't have had otherwise. We've gotten nearly almost $6 million out into the community for housing assistance. We've also been working with Rhode Islanders who are focused on getting back to work, to breaking the barriers that they found were keeping them from being able to confidently interview, confidently train for the jobs that they need. And so we've been working with the state on the Back to Work Rhode Island initiative, where we've gotten, and it's small stuff, it's suits or computers or training for Microsoft Office that we've been able to provide millions of dollars in supports out into the community. So, you know, we're abundantly grateful for the ability to be able to serve Rhode Island in this critical time. And not only that, is be able to look to the future and supporting our nonprofit community who have done Herculean things to support Rhode Island, who have pivoted, who have innovated in ways that I don't think anyone even remotely thought was possible. They've done it, and it's been incredibly impressive to watch and be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. So for folks that might not know what 211 is, give us a little bit of a primer on that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So 211 is really a social services call center. So, and it's for every single Rhode Islander, not just the ones in crisis. So, you know, a perfect example I often use is your parent receiving their Medicare paperwork for the first time and trying to figure out, what the heck does this mean? How do I fill it out? You can call 211, we can help you. If you have been a recent victim of financial crime, which unfortunately online is happening way too often to too many, you can call United Way. We have a great partnership with Rhode Island State Police on that. Any type of issue that you may have, call 211. We provide rental assistance, utility assistance. We can answer those questions. Where do I turn in our state? There are 4,500 different programs that you could turn to based on what your need is. And and so we want to help you navigate those waters and want to do it so that you don't have to inquire all 4,500 resources. Those call center is available 24/7, 365, and available in 200 different languages. You know, it's an incredible resource for the Rhode Island community. Normally, we would have an RV that's out in 55 different locations every month to make sure that Rhode Islanders know they have a place to turn and resources that are available to them.
That is so interesting, Cortney. Obviously, I've been engaged and involved with United Way for a very long time, but I did not know that the breadth and the comprehensive nature of the services that you provide that are not urgent social service matters. So that, you know, that's new information for me. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it grows by the day, because we find that many organizations, instead of standing up their own call center, they want to come to 211 and leverage the great services and the unbelievable call specialists that we have. So a great example was during our recent election, we partnered with the Secretary of State's office on the voter information hotline. We helped Rhode Islanders understand how to safely choose the candidate they wanted, and how they could do it via mail, how they could vote and where to vote in the election, and how to do it in a way that is safe for them. So we're more than thrilled to be able to do that. We've been partnering for COVID with the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency and the Department of Health, providing COVID resources, testing locations, you know, as I mentioned, since end of February. So that's the power I think that 211 can bring to organizations, is our ability to be able to provide that critical resources in a time of need.
So we field a lot of questions ourselves at the chamber. We have a fully operational live front desk system. So we've gotten lots of calls from small business owners that are interested and concerned about tapping into resources to help their business during the pandemic. So if you don't already have the chamber on your list of your 4,500 agencies, which I'm sure you do, please feel free to refer calls to us. Barbara Lorino, who runs our front desk, does an excellent job, and she has lots of contacts at her fingertips as well. So I can see a perfect synergy between that and 211, specifically to business issues. And I'm sure Barbara already refers folks into 211. So, that's great. It's a new piece of opportunity for all of us going forward.
And Laurie, I just want to make a mention. I've been so impressed, and our team has been so impressed with the chamber and what y'all have done, getting the word out and getting information out into the community, really helping us as a business, because nonprofits are mission-driven businesses. We need those resources, and things were coming at everyone so quickly through this process. And I think y'all just stepped up in a very meaningful way to make sure that your members had those critical resources that they need. So thank you.
Well, on behalf of the team, thank you so much. And I know the team has really enjoyed being part of the solution. So Cortney, tell us a little bit about the big thing that was in the news a couple of weeks ago. And that was, or is, a $100 million donation from philanthropist MacKenzie Scott to the United Way of Rhode Island. So tell us about how that came to be, and is that the biggest contribution you've ever received? And give us all the flavor. Like, what did you think when you got the call?
Yeah, so just to level set, it was a $10 million gift. I will happily accept any $100 million gift. I'll share about the $100 million pledge in a second. But it was, I've been fundraiser for 20 plus years at this point, and never have I ever received a phone call like that. I've gotten multi-million-dollar gifts in my experience with great philanthropists around the country, but never have I gotten a phone call like the one I received from MacKenzie Scott's team. So it was one of those. We've been receiving just generosity throughout the community and outside of Rhode Island through COVID-19. We've had folks reach out and say, we really like what you're doing. Many have given gifts of, very worthy $25,000, $100,000 gifts to various different programs in the work of the United Way as it responds to COVID. And I received an email that looked and felt really similar to that. And so I said, would love to talk to you and love to chat, and had just the greatest conversation. And they had clearly done their homework. So they had gone into like really dire details. And I learned after the fact, we were one of 6,000 organizations that they researched as part of this philanthropic gift, in the community. And so, they said a few things. One is MacKenzie's focus is meeting the basic needs of Rhode Islanders, but doing it in innovative ways, really leaning into organizations who are thinking differently, and leaning into organizations that are focused on building racial equity in their communities. And so it was so inspiring to hear why, and that MacKenzie, albeit from another side of the country, had heard and really seen the great work that was happening at the United Way, and said, we are making a completely unrestricted gift to the United Way for $10 million. And everything just fell into place after that. It was incredible. MacKenzie uses what we deem in our philanthropic world as trust-based philanthropy, which is really a focus and a model that the United Way has been leading heavily into over the last year, which is really providing unrestricted operating focused gifts to help organizations use the dollars that they so wisely know how. We choose them for a reason. We choose those organizations for a reason. We have to trust and put the power into the hands of our nonprofit community. And so that's exactly what she did. And so we have the ability to utilize these funds in the way that we believe is necessary. We do intend to spend the $10 million over the course of 3 years because we want to make sure that we're supporting Rhode Island now and well into the future. And it lined up perfectly with our strategic plan, which we launched last week and made the commitment to investing $100 million over the course of next 5 years in Rhode Island with our community, our donors, our corporate partners, and others. And so this $10 million gift was definitely a great kickoff for that.
So did the email just, look, you mentioned it looked very similar to some of the ones that, good thing you didn't hit delete, right?
I know, it was like, hey, Cortney, we'd love to meet. And it had no connection to MacKenzie. So it was just, a group, it was her team. And they were like, we'd love to visit with you and, share some thoughts on a donor we have. And that was it. And it was like, sure, why not? I'd love to visit with you. And I'm a relationship builder, so I looked at it as that. And in now talking, there was 360 organizations throughout the country and $4.13 billion that MacKenzie put out in 4 months in the United States. And so some of my colleagues across the country I've reached out to, and they had the exact same experience. At one time, we actually felt a little bit like we were getting punked, like it was a joke, and then you kind of sit back and go, I'm just going to wait and see. I'm just going to wait and see. And literally everything, her team was a pleasure to work with.
Mm-hmm. Well, folks might want to know who MacKenzie Scott is, and we can certainly appreciate that she's definitely cutting her own identity, which she definitely deserves to do at this point in her life. But tell us a little bit about MacKenzie.
Yeah, MacKenzie is an author. She has been a philanthropist for quite some time with her ex-husband, Jeff Bezos, who's the founder of Amazon. MacKenzie, what is incredibly powerful about MacKenzie is she immediately, when she became a single philanthropist, signed the Giving Pledge. And for folks that do not know, the Giving Pledge, billionaires signed a Giving Pledge, which identifies that they will give at least half of their wealth out to philanthropy before they depart the earth. And so MacKenzie is quite honestly blowing that trend out of the water. If you look at the work that she's done, she's put $6 billion out just in 2020. And so it's incredible to see, she has hit the ground running and really made this incredible connection with the work that she's doing and really has set a pace for other, philanthropists of her stature in a different way than the community has seen ever before.
Tell us about the book that she authored. Have you read it?
I have not yet. And so I have it on my list of things to read. I've been a little busy with, COVID response, but, she's a fiction writer and has a few books out in the community. But I think the last book she wrote was just a few years ago. I have not heard anything about any new books in the horizon. The other question I want to mention is that you asked, and I did not answer, my apologies, was, is this the biggest gift ever to the United Way? And the answer is close, but no. As many folks may know, we received an endowment from Royal Little in the 1930s that we still reap the benefits of today that supports our administrative and fundraising costs for the organization. So that is absolutely the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely. And the idea that all of your overhead is in fact covered through the Royal Little Endowment is a distinguishing factor and feature of the United Way of Rhode Island. So another great Rhode Island philanthropist helping to continue to perpetuate charitable giving in Rhode Island and putting the United Way of Rhode Island in a distinctive position to be able to say that to donors.
Yeah, and Royal really was so innovative and leading as it relates to this gift, because that is something you're right. We are one of the only United Ways. I think there are 5 total that have this type of endowment bestowed upon them, and the only one in the Northeast area. And so we do and have the ability for folks to be rest assured that these dollars go out directly into the community, whether it be by giving through our community impact fund or designating directly to their favorite nonprofit organization. And, I think also, his forethought to know that would be such a distinctive difference. And, all of these decades later still be such a distinctive difference is really just touts his innovative spirit that clearly we see to this day at Textron.
Yeah, so certainly pointing to one of the earliest business leaders in Rhode Island through Textron, one of our major corporate partners, headquartered here in Providence, global company, early on being able to identify the power of business leaders to invest in our community and support our community. So all of that is so very, very important. And we don't want to lose sight of that, the importance of philanthropic giving from our business leaders and our business community, helping to support fellow Rhode Islanders.
Yeah, and that is one of the things that I love most about the United Way is we get to work with 400 different corporate partners every day into helping them really, really, truly make the most out of their corporate giving, their corporate social responsibility. We have great and incredible partnerships. As an example, I think FM Global is just such a perfect example. They have been, just stewards of philanthropic and corporate social responsibility in our community. There's so many others I can mention, but FM Global, we work directly with them each year to put over $3 million out into the community. That's powerful and life-altering for the folks that our nonprofit communities serve. And so, we also are thrilled because we do work with many small to medium-sized businesses who really just want to try to understand how they can truly make the impact that they desire in their corporate giving. And so we have a team at the United Way that works directly with small to medium-sized businesses that helps them craft their corporate social responsibility plans. We know you don't, our small to medium-sized businesses don't have a CSR team or an ESG team. And so we work directly with you to help you frame up your giving strategies, your volunteer and employee engagement strategies to really help make sure that you are getting the greatest impact, greatest bang for your buck, greatest marketability of your philanthropic support into the community. We want philanthropic giving to be a win-win in many ways. And in my opinion, if you are a company in Rhode Island who is also giving back to the community members, that should be touted. That is important and critical to our community, and it should be noted and touted and have an incredible sense of pride on. And so we are thrilled to work with small to medium-sized businesses to help them accomplish that.
Yeah, I love that, and thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And we certainly think the idea of having a resource for other businesses that don't have the mega philanthropy departments that some larger companies do, that just, have, maybe 50, 60 folks or even fewer, say, we really want to give back to the community. Our employees are invested in this as well. And we want to demonstrate that we care about the community. And by the way, it's also a good way to attract employees. And it's also a good way to retain employees because folks want to work for companies that have a sense of values, that are not just in it for, the capitalistic aspects of it, but people who really care about the planet, care about each other, care about upward mobility in every sense of the word. So I think this is an amazing solution that you've put out there, Cortney, in terms of helping those that, may want to know a little bit more about how to structure such a donation, and, you're hand-holding, if you will, along the way to say, okay, this is how you do it. This is how you get your workforce involved. This is how you engage them. This is how you get excited. This is how you structure the gift. And here are some places where you can put the money to really make a difference.
Yeah, and such a great example of that. I visited very early on in my time in this role with a great company here in the state. And, it's a mid-sized business. And, they said, Cortney, we put $150,000 out into the community every year. We just don't know what that really entails. And so I said, well, what is your as you think about your employee engagement, as you think about your focus, what do you want it to be? Or have you already defined that? They said, food insecurity for sure is the most important thing to us. Okay. We did an assessment of their giving. They were giving like 7% to food insecurity, but yet all their volunteering was food insecurity, right? So we really created a model with them to help frame that up a little bit more so that they were giving more of their gifts to food insecurity, which was part and parcel and focus on their desires and values. And then at the same time, we were looking at and thinking through how they go about that, and as an example, there would be companies that would put out a $2,500 grant and ask for a kitchen sink list of reports back. And so, our focus is also helping the nonprofit sector and the corporate sector be able to partner in a way that is meaningful without arduous or unnecessary paperwork. And so, we really appreciate that and appreciate the ability to be able to help both sectors.
Yeah, that's a really good illustration. And it also points to an issue that we talk about a lot at the Chamber, which is the importance of having a robust business base and having, great corporate citizens in Rhode Island and people of means to keep charitable dollars here to continue to fund organizations such as the United Way and all of the many, many, many nonprofits that dot the landscape that provide such important work. So it gets us back to this whole notion of like, how do we work together? How do we continue to position Rhode Island as a great place to invest, to start a business, to run a business, and continue to keep the wealth in Rhode Island? So that's an issue that's always at the top of our list. And we are very cognizant of any of the public policy issues and movements out there that would disrupt that kind of balance, if you will.
No, agreed. And we are as well. We have a public policy team that is laser focused on the economic viability of our state because, it is critical to our overall health and wealth in our community. And so one of the things that I often say is unless we have a proper housing inventory and unless we have high quality education, we cannot expect that companies will come in. And we will not expect that folks will be able to stay. And so we have to look and understand, and I know the Chamber does this so well, that we have to look at the social needs of our community, the health and wellness needs of our community, and the economic needs of our community as not being distinctive areas, but rather supporting one another. And so that's something that's top of mind for the United Way. We have as an example, a housing crisis here in the state of Rhode Island that needs to be fixed because we know that when companies are looking at Rhode Island, that's one of the top things they're looking at. Is there a place for my employees to live? Is there a place for their kids to go to school? Is there workforce training and opportunity to build up the infrastructure that I need for employees over the long term? And so these social needs are economic needs, and one that we advocate very strongly for throughout the community.
Well, you put that really well. And again, our public policy teams from time to time, in fact, work together and we shine a light on the importance of having a healthy business community and ensuring that we can continue to, to thrive, to create jobs. And a lot of times it seems like, it's taken for granted in some ways. And maybe it's not well understood the degree to which employers and businesses contribute to the overall social and welfare fabric of our communities.
No, it's incredible what the corporate community does. And I think COVID has just shown the power of that. They have stepped up in ways that I don't even know if they thought were possible with COVID. And it's every aspect. You know, as an example, Bank of America utilized one of their cafeterias for food distribution. We had a number of companies who have made their spaces available for COVID testing. You know, it is this ability that I've seen to pivot and innovate in Rhode Island from our corporate partners, from our nonprofit partners. I've been inspired every step of the way.
Tell us a little bit about your $100 million pledge. So we have the $10 million contribution from MacKenzie Scott, which was truly transformational, second only to the Textron Royal Little Endowment Fund, if you will. So tell us about your strategic plan, the work that you did to, you know, shore that up, and then your $100 million pledge to reinvest in our community.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I'm incredibly mindful of is the fact that while we were responding to COVID, we also had to look ahead. And good, solid, strong, foundational organizations in the state have to do the same thing. And that's super hard to do, but really, really important. We started actually our strategic planning process in summer of 2019. And that had been about 9 months of me visiting with great leaders like yourself and getting thoughts and guidance as to where the United Way is and where it should be going. And so in the fall of 2019, we hosted 45 community first conversations, and these were with corporate partners, leaders, community leaders, elected officials, just our neighbors. They were in places of worship, in people's homes, in the corporate setting. And it was really a time to sit down, break bread, and talk about what changes folks wanted to see in Rhode Island. And from there, we put surveys out. We partnered with great data partners like Rhode Island Kids Count and the Brown Policy Lab and Housing Works and others. And we actually had, with our strategic planning committee and our board, our strategic plan crafted, or at least drafted, and then COVID hit. And so we kind of put that on the shelf and we responded to COVID, and we came back to it in July. And we sat back and went, this is where we need to go. COVID has proven it. And I'll give you a couple of examples. COVID has shown that we have incredible, disparities in our state. And I will tell you, this is nationwide as it relates to health and well-being of Rhode Islanders. Our Black and Brown community members are struggling more than our white communities. We have seen our nonprofit community soar and struggle at the same time. So there is incredible need for us to build resiliency in our nonprofit sector. And so everything we had written in that plan, we came back to and said, this is where we need to go. And to that point, we knew what we needed to invest. We traditionally have been investing about $15+ million in the Rhode Island community every year. We knew we had to step that up. This was before the MacKenzie's gift, so that was even more of a help to get us there. And we also knew we had to go deeper rather than wider in our work. And so this strategic plan is a community-driven labor of love, but focus on the next 5 years in Rhode Island and what it's going to take to really build prosperity and racial equity in the state of Rhode Island. So we are thrilled. We allows the United Way to make sure we are investing in a way that's truly meaningful in the state. We are going to measure the progress and share with our community every step of the way. And we are going to be asking community members to come with us and join us in this work. Help us frame and design this work. This isn't going to be something that United Way is going to do in a silo and then push it out into the universe. That we take the word United and United Way very seriously, and this plan does as well. So we are going to be asking for Rhode Islanders to step up and step in with us to help us with this, whether it be giving of your time, your talents, and your treasures. It is going to require our entire community to come together to invest this $100 million in the right way that makes impactful change.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask you to bring out your crystal ball, if you will, and let's talk about what you think has changed as a result of the pandemic, relative to the way we think about philanthropy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot. I would say I'm really excited about the fact that funders are coming together and partnering in a way that's truly meaningful. And I think you've seen that around the country and in our state. I think that what I've also been excited to see is a deeper focus on trust-based philanthropy, really distributing the power of the dollar and truly in a way that is more meaningful for our subject matter experts, which is our nonprofit community. I think that we have seen at least that more individuals in the Rhode Island community are seeing the work of the nonprofit community. So I do believe that COVID has given us an opportunity to really show our strength and our might and our importance in the Rhode Island community. I've also seen, and I think it goes without saying, we've seen a lot of suffering. And so, that will continue, unfortunately, because COVID is not over yet. So I think really honing in the focus in the nonprofit community around innovative partnerships, collaboration. We are going to do significant work helping build the operational backbone of the nonprofit sector. And so I'm excited to see where that goes. I've seen it work really well during my career, and just we don't have that resource here in Rhode Island. So I'm thrilled that we'll be incubating that. We've done a ton of work around innovation, specifically working with the Nonprofit Innovation Lab in partnership with the Social Enterprise Greenhouse. There needs to be more of that. There is bright and incredibly inspiring nonprofit leaders that need to be supported. I also think, and I'm encouraged that more Rhode Islanders really understand that we need to eradicate racial inequities in our community, that we need to band together, that we need to be allies for our Black and Brown communities, and that means taking action. And so I've been inspired by many of Rhode Islanders who have said, we're in, this is incredibly hard work, we're in, we want to learn, we want to educate, we want to listen, and we want to take action. And so, this is, I think, a pivot point for many things in our lives with COVID-19 and with the unbelievably tragic deaths of so many of our Black community over the course of the last year. And so we are going to take those tragedies and make those into action. And that's what I'm excited to see and work with the community to make happen.
We are talking to Cortney Nicolato, the president and CEO of the United Way of Rhode Island. We are live on Twitter, we are live on Facebook, and we are live on YouTube. And we welcome any feedback any of our listeners have, any questions. We'll continue to pose them to Cortney. This is episode number 107 of Bloomberg TV. So, Cortney, let me segue to a very important constituency from the United Way's perspective and from the Chamber's perspective and our whole economic development perspective, and that is the role of our higher education communities. What is the extent of the work that United Way is doing with our colleges and universities today?
Yeah, and I have two hats in this conversation. I am a board of trustee member at the University of Rhode Island, as well as supporting the community as it relates to building high quality education here in the state. So, kind of two hats that I can share. One of the things from United Way's perspective, education is an incredible pillar. We call it Achieve United in Rhode Island and the work that we do in our strategic plan. But we have, and I think it goes without saying, everybody's read the report, everybody has seen that we have incredible work to do with regards to building high quality education here in the state of Rhode Island in our public school systems. I think that there is an excitement and motivation to do that. My kids are STAR testing today, so I know and feel that firsthand. But as a public school mom, I am excited to see that we're making these changes. I will tell you, it was exceptionally hard I spent 13 years in Texas and just came home to take this position. And it was exceptionally hard to know that Rhode Island had been struggling so much, but made the commitment as both my in-laws were public school teachers in New Jersey, and in this market and in this system, to place my children in public schools because I wanted to be part of the solution. And United Way is as well. And so we have been working really closely with the Rhode Island Department of Education. We think the world of the work that they're doing to really be transformative. We also have incredible relationships with the labor unions and the dedicated teachers throughout the state, which are doing Herculean and heroic things, in my opinion, making sure that our kids are educated and have the tools that they need. COVID has done nothing but prove, though, that we have disparities, and I think bringing all of our kids home to learn, many to which did not have a computer, many to which did not have internet access at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was sitting watching my own children learning in a safe place with internet, that they didn't have to worry about any of that and they could just focus on their learning. We have to make sure that every kid can focus on their learning. And as we think about high quality education in the state of Rhode Island, we also have to think of the social needs of our kids. I often say we cannot assume that a child would be able to focus in the classroom if they, the night before, did not have a roof over their head that's consistent or food on their table that morning. And so we have to create a way that's really looking at the whole child. And I think we got a lot of work to do to make that happen, and United Way is definitely supportive. I think the other thing that's really important that we look into at United Way is, one, making sure that kids are ready for school to begin with, that they're walking into kindergarten with pre-K support and available and access to them, but also with a love and passion for reading, because we know that once you get to the third grade, kids move or make this transition from learning to read to reading to learn. If kids are not ready, they're going to be lost and left behind. And so we put significant investments with the Women United affinity group at the United Way into early childhood literacy, into support. We host the largest book drive in the state with Partners Books Our Wings. We've put about 250,000 books out into the community. We're also going to be launching Barbershop Books Initiative, where barbers are going to be trained. There will be book nooks and barbershops across Providence and other communities where kids will have culturally appropriate books and be able to have a book of their own. I think far too many Rhode Island kids, and folks may not realize this, do not have access to books in their home. We're changing that and focused on changing that. The other area I'll just mention really quickly is but equally as important is after school programs. I think COVID has done nothing but prove that after school programs work. If you look at the data, it's actually show that kids who participate in after school programs are less likely to go to prison. They're more likely to graduate high school. They're more likely to go to college. And so we have to see after school program for what it is. And when I grew up, after school program was get your homework done and go play. That's not the job or the lead anymore. It is for kids to explore. It's leadership opportunities. It's mentoring. It's coaching. And so after school programs work. Every data point shows you, but unfortunately, a recent report showed that 58,000 of Rhode Island kids do not have access to out-of-school time learning. So we have to see out-of-school time learning for what it is, which is an extension of the school day, and understand that kids that participate in out-of-school time learning will not have the COVID slide or the summer slide that unfortunately far too many kids in our state have. And so it is an incredible tool that needs to be better supported.
Mm-hmm. What are our higher education institutions doing to interface with your staff?
Yeah, so besides the work of URI and serving in the role of trustees, which has been an incredible experience to go back to your alma mater and serve in such a critical time for our state and for the university. So I'm thrilled from that perspective. But, our higher ed institutions have been amazing, and we work very closely with many of them in this work. Brown recently supported our strategic plan with a financial gift, but also we have great relationships with the School of Public Health and Dr. Jha and his team and Brown Policy Lab, especially as we think about our data and getting our data out into the community to really talk about even the impact of 211 and other programs in the community. We work in workforce development with many of our state institutions. We have a great relationship with CCRI that we're expanding as well, Johnson & Wales. And so, we've been thrilled to see that our higher ed institutions have such a community focus and see that their support needs to go far beyond just the tools that they bring. We have more interns and various fellows at the United Way than we ever had before. So we're very grateful for those relationships and for what higher ed institutions do for our state.
We only have a couple of minutes left, Cortney, but I did want to just circle back to the pandemic and 211 and the resources that you offer to the community, the incredible amount of data that you have and the ability, the connectivity to help people no matter what the issue is, right? So whether it's, how to fill out a form for your parents or, something, very, very, very challenging like food insecurity. The United Way through 211 has the answer. So big question that everybody's worrying about these days and thinking about is the vaccine. And when do I get it? Where do I get it? How soon do I get it? What resources do you have and what are you planning over the next couple of weeks to help people understand where they are in the queue and how to guide them to the vaccine and be able to, understand, what it, when and what.
Yeah, and it's complicated and it's challenging. And I know I want to know when my parents are receiving their vaccine. I want to know where we are on the list, how that all falls. And there's lots going on. We also have a transition of our state government leaders, right, which we know may alter the the plan on prioritization of who will receive the vaccine. 211 is getting calls daily, folks wanting to know where they are on the list and when they can sign up. Also, I think it's really incredibly difficult because this is run state by state. And so, my father-in-law in Arizona has his appointment, whereas my mom and dad here in Rhode Island do not, and they're the same age. And so there's lots of complexities and I think, system challenges that folks have questions. And so they absolutely can call 211. I will tell you there's not a ton of answers yet, but we are meeting with our Rhode Island Emergency Management and the Rhode Island Department of Health. We just met with their leadership yesterday to talk about vaccine, where it's at. Also, Larry Warner, who is our Chief Impact and Equity Officer at the United Way, sits on the vaccine subcommittee that the governor appointed a few months back. And so we have real-time information on where things are and where they're going. I think the biggest challenge right now, from what I understand, is the volume of doses that we're receiving is low. And we are getting them out quickly, but the problem is we're only getting 14,000 a week. And so I am hopeful that the Biden administration continue to focus on getting more doses out so that we can get more sticks and arms and support for our state. The one thing I also been appreciative of is that the Department of Health and the Emergency Management Agency here in the state they don't want long lines like in Florida where folks, older adults are 9 hours in their car They want to make sure that folks' appointments don't get canceled. So, they're really balancing this, like where doses are versus where we can get them out in the community as fast as we can, but also in a way that isn't jeopardizing people's health.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm fortunate. Later today, I'm going to be able to observe at a distance a vaccination clinic in progress so that I can get a better understanding and see with my own eyes how this, in fact, is unfolding and what we could potentially look forward to in the coming weeks with a new vaccination strategy led by the Biden administration. And last night, I was interested to see what he has put forth in terms of his new goals for daily inoculation.
Yeah, I'm ready. I know I'm personally ready to receive my vaccine. I know many are, and I'm grateful that we have prioritized our first responders because they have done just incredible work in serving our state and keeping us as healthy as possible. So, I want more vaccinations as fast as possible, like everybody else, and we'll continue to advocate for that and work with our state to make it happen.
So is there anything definitive that you might know that you could share with us?
Not yet. I do know that they're looking and reviewing their prioritization routinely. I think the vaccination subcommittee is meeting weekly at this point, if not more. So I think as soon as we get word that the vaccination or the dosage amount will increase, I think the better off everybody will feel for sure.
And if somebody were to call 211 at the United Way to ask questions about vaccine, what do you do with those calls? Do you triage them to a separate place, or do you answer them yourselves, or how does that work?
Yeah, and so we receive information from the Department of Health and the Rhode Island Emergency Management Agency daily. Every morning, we have an idea of where things are, what the status is, what the priorities are, who's getting vaccinated this week, who's getting vaccinated next week, what that all looks like. And so we have a pretty keen understanding of where things are at. And we have the ability to give folks the update of the information that we're given. In some cases, say if someone has had a reaction to a vaccine or something to that regard, we would forward that over to the Department of Health. We have a warm handoff where we'll provide that support so that folks get the services that they need. And then also, I think it goes without saying, this is a very anxious time. And, I think that there's just a lot of stress and anxiety for lots of reasons right now, and rightfully so. So we are very proud to work with BH Link and make sure that those services are available for folks too. So if you do not know where to turn, if you are challenged with an issue, feel free to call 211 first. We will absolutely get you in the right space, in the right direction.
Thank you for that, Cortney. That's amazing information. And I know a lot of our viewers will find that to be very handy, and we'll take you up on that. So at this point, I just want to say thank you so much, Cortney Nicolato from the United Way, joining us today to talk about so many things in addition to the vaccine and the pandemic, the new strategic plan, the $10 million contribution from MacKenzie Scott, and all the good work that you're doing in the community to help donors really maximize their donations and help businesses really formulate a strategy and a framework so that they can excite their own employees and make the maximum contribution and impact to the community. So I will let you go at this point, but I did want to ask you one thing. Is there any chance that MacKenzie Scott will be coming to Rhode Island to do any kind of event so that we have an opportunity to hear from her firsthand?
Gosh, I wish. I don't know what her plans are. I know she gave it in that group of giving, she gave to 364 organizations. So she may be getting a lot of asks right now, but yeah, I know we would be happy to host MacKenzie anytime and thank her for this incredible transformational investment in the state.
Okay, well, thank you again, Cortney. Be well. Kudos to you and your staff, and we will check back with you very soon for additional updates. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.